Video, we'll be reviewing IRS Form 2848, Power of Attorney and Declaration of Representative. This is the form that taxpayers should use if they want to appoint someone to represent them in tax matters before the IRS. This tax form 2848 is not honored for any other purpose other than representation before the IRS. However, it is absolutely necessary in most cases for a person that is representing you in tax matters to have a Form 2848 on file. There are other tax forms that you may use for different tax purposes. For example, IRS Form 8821 is Tax Information Authorization. This would be a form that you would use if you want an outside individual or organization to receive your tax return information, but not necessarily to have representation authority for the IRS. And then IRS Form 56 is a notice concerning fiduciary relationship, which is to notify the IRS that there is a fiduciary relationship in place. A fiduciary, whether it's a trustee, executor, administrator, receiver, or guardian, stands in the position as if he or she were the taxpayer and acts as the taxpayer, not as the representative. Now, a fiduciary may authorize an individual to represent or perform certain acts on behalf of that person by filing a power of attorney on their own. Address information provided on IRS Form 2848 will not change your last known address with the IRS. To do this, you will need to file either Form 8822, which is change of address for a home address, or 8822B, which is a change of address form for businesses. This tax form is a two-page tax form. We'll briefly go through it, and then we'll go through it in a little bit more depth. So on the top, part 1, this is the power of attorney form, part of the form. And then part 2 is the declaration of representative. And this is the person that you're appointing, acknowledging their role as your representative. So both parts must be completed in order to for this form to be effective. So at the top of part 1, under taxpayer information, you'll sign and you'll enter your name and address, followed by your taxpayer identification number and then a daytime telephone number. In line 2, you'll enter the representative's information, name and address. You'll check a box if you want that person to be sent copies of notices and communications. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a bunch of information. CAF number is a number that is unique to the representative. The CAF is a centralized file. It's a unique 9-digit identification number that the IRS assigns to a representative. It does not mean that the person has an authority to practice in front of the IRS. However, it is the number that is unique to that individual. A PTIN is one that is the tax preparer's identification number. That may also be entered. There's a telephone number, fax number, and check any boxes if those are new addresses or telephone numbers. Most likely your representative will enter this information for you, and you'll probably not need to do much more than sign this form in order for the representative to file it with the Internal Revenue Service. You can note that while there are 4 boxes, only 2 of them contain the boxes to check for copies of notices and communications. And there's a note at the bottom that the IRS only sends notices and communications to 2 representatives. So if you appoint up to 4 representatives, please be sure that the 2 representatives that you want to receive information on your behalf are listed at the top. Line 3 contains acts that you are authorizing your representative to do. You must complete line 3, and you do have to have specific information or actions that you would like to authorize. You cannot use a general reference such as all years, all tax forms, all periods. What you can say is income tax under the description of matter. If you want your representative to represent you for income tax return purposes, you can say 1040, and then you can list calendar year or periods. So you can list calendar year 2020. You can even use multiple calendar years where you say something like 2018 through 2021, or second quarter 2018 through third quarter 2019. What you cannot do is just give an all-inclusive blanket authority for all matters, all tax forms, all years or periods. Most likely, the person that or the entity that you are requesting representation from will complete this with the information, the necessary information based on your unique tax situation. You can even apply future tax periods. However, the IRS will not list on the CAF system future tax periods that exceed more than 3 years from the end of the year in which the IRS receives the power of attorney. For example, if you filed this form in 2023, then this form could be good through the end of tax year 2026, but not beyond that. In line 4, you will check that box if the power of attorney is for a specific use that is not recorded on the CAF. You'll check this box. Some examples might include requests for a private letter ruling, applications for an employer identification number, claims that are filed on IRS Form 843, which is a claim for refund and a request for abatement, corporate dissolutions, requests to change accounting methods or periods. A complete list of authorized uses that are not recorded on the CAF is contained in the form instructions. For line 5A, you'll outline additional acts authorized. So in addition to what you've authorized on line 3 above, you can allow your representative to access your IRS records, authorize disclosure to third parties, substitute or add representatives, or sign a return on your behalf. So these are all functions that your representative does not automatically assume unless you specify them in line 5A. If there are other acts that you would like to authorize, you can specify them in line 5A. For line 5B, you are going to specify certain acts that you do not want your representative to do on your behalf. So automatically, your representative is not authorized to endorse or negotiate any checks. They are not allowed to direct payment to themselves, either electronically or via check, into an account that they own or any firm that they are associated with owns. So other than that, you can use 5B to list specific things that you do not want your power of attorney to have. If you are revoking a prior power of attorney, then you should know that the new power of attorney form automatically revokes all earlier powers of attorney on file for the same matters, same tax years, and periods covered by the form. If you do not want to revoke that prior power of attorney, then check the box in line 6. You must attach a copy of any power of attorney that you want to remain in effect. Under line 7, you will sign and print your name. You will date it. If you have a title, then you'll put your title in, and you will print the name of the taxpayer from line 1 if it's other than an individual. So, for example, a business. If you are a corporate partner or officer, if you're a guardian, if you are a representative of anyone other than yourself, then you should print the name of the eligible taxpayer separately from your own name. In part 2, this simply states the representative's willingness to take on the responsibility. So under penalties of perjury, this person is declaring that they are A, not currently suspended or barred from practice before the IRS. B, they are subject to regulations in Circular 230, which is the document that regulates the behavior of tax practitioners. C, that they are authorized to represent the taxpayer identified in Part 1 for the specified matters. And then D, that they are one of the following: either an attorney, a CPA, an enrolled agent, an officer of the organization, a full-time employee of the taxpayer or the taxpayer's organization, a family member, an enrolled actuary, an unenrolled tax return preparer, which has limited authority to practice before the IRS. They may only represent a taxpayer where they prepare the tax return. The taxpayer was eligible to sign the return that they prepared. They have a valid tax preparer identification number, and that they've completed the annual filing season program of record. K, they may be a qualifying student or a law graduate working in an official capacity in a low-income tax clinic. And R, which is an enrolled retirement plan agent, they have limited practice authority before the IRS as well. So for any of those designations, that person will enter their designation A through R, the licensing jurisdiction if they are regulated by a state, for example, the State Bar Association or the Board of Accountancy. If they're an enrolled agent, they'll simply list the IRS. They will put their enrollment number if it applies. They'll sign it, and then they will date this form. That is all that there is for this form. The IRS instructions do state that if you're simply filing this form in order to revoke a previously issued power of attorney, then you simply write revoke across the top of the first page with a current signature and a date. Then you must mail or fax a copy of the power of attorney to the IRS, or you will send it to the IRS based either on where you live and there is a chart in the form instructions that you can send based on where you live, or if there is a specific tax matter, then you would send it directly to the office that is handling that tax matter. If your representative wants to withdraw from representation, then that person would write withdraw across the first page, and then they would send that form to the IRS in a similar manner. If you want more information, we've written a complete article. Simply go to our website, teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS Form 2848 in the search bar, and you should see our article. And if you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you have any questions, as always, please post them in the comments. Thank you very much.